We know an AI can mimic human actions, but can they mimic human creativity? To be more specific, can an AI mimic the creativity of someone like Leonardo da Vinci, one of the greatest minds of human history? When we say mimicking the creativity, we do not want the AI to create another replica of Mona Lisa. That would be mimicking the actions of Da Vinci, but not his creativity. Instead, what we need is for an AI to capture and digitize the thought process that went in creating the Mona Lisa and leverage this thought process in solving other problems. It could be business transformation. I call this process of digitizing creativity as brain printing. The inspiration for brain printing started from this great work, The Great Wave of Kanagawa by Huxley, created in the 18th century. Till date, it is considered as one of the greatest artworks in the world. It was created using a technique called as woodblock printing, which in Japanese is called as ukiyo-e. This is how the process goes. First, the artist prepares the sketch of the art called as shitae and hands it over to the woodblock carver called horishi. Then the horishi glues a thin paper to a wooden block and carves it carefully to produce thin lines of images on the wood. Once we have the image, the carving process begins. Multiple blocks of the same design is carved, usually one for each color. Finally, the printer called surishi places the paper on each block consecutively and applies pressure by rubbing the block. We then have the final product. As you can see, this is a very simple work involving just one color and not many shades. When we relook at this work of Hokusai, we can understand the complexity. By using complex colors, composition and shades, it creates a sense of motion. With Mount Fuji in the background, it gives the magnitude of the wave and creates an illusion of a three-dimensional space. Brain printing works very similar to woodblock printing technique, where we identify a creative work and extract the key ideas, like how we trace the sketch of an artist on a wooden block. We then convert these ideas into an 84-digit code by mapping them to standard change principles on a space-time coordinate. By taking the 84-digit code as the input and the end goal of the artist as the output, the AI model is then trained. From there on, every time the AI recognizes a problem with the same goal, it will tap into the creativity of the artist. Confused? Just hang in there. Let us take an example. This painting doesn't need any introduction. Mona Lisa, one of the most creative works of all time. It has so many creative features in comparison to some of the other works created during the Renaissance period in the 15th century. Let us start with the eyes. It follows the viewer irrespective of wherever we see her from. The second unique aspect is women never boldly and directly looked at the viewer in any other prior work during this period, unlike Mona Lisa. The next key aspect is the simplicity. Look at her clothing. She is in plain clothes with no ornaments or anything flamboyant. Da Vinci wanted to make sure that we have no distractions and we have all our attention on her face. Another key aspect is her relaxed posture, which is again unique compared to other commissioned works where the aristocratic subject had a very firm posture. The next feature is the size of the portrait in itself. Da Vinci for the first time uses a 3/4 length pose against a full length. Then we have her smile, the background landscape, and many more, which I will cover in the next video. But for now, let's just focus on the eyes. The first step is to map the outcome which Da Vinci wanted to achieve to the standard set of outcomes that we have in our database. Her eyes follow the viewer. That is, she looks straight back at us irrespective of wherever we are. Or I would say she adapts to the perspective of the viewer, and hence adaptability is the outcome that Da Vinci wanted to achieve. The technique which Da Vinci uses is called as sfumato, or in Italian it translates to smoky. It's a technique to remove sharp transitions of colors from one shade to another so that there is a smooth gradient between the transition of colors. Da Vinci achieves the sfumato technique by eliminating sharp edges from the painting. The way he achieves it is by number one, preparing a semi-transparent glaze. And then he divides the eyes into different sections to identify the areas where there are sharp transitions. Then he continuously starts applying this glaze to eliminate the sharp transitions and have a smoother gradient. And finally, if not for years, he performed this action for months. Let us switch gear for a moment. Every object exists in space and time in a particular state. New ideas and innovations are generated by changing the state of the object in either space or time. For example, the whole pizza is an object here. I can sell the whole pizza, or I can bring in an innovation by dividing my pizza and selling it in slices. I can bring in additional layer of innovation here by adding additional components which are my toppings to my object, which is pizza. I can use time as my lever to bring a change. For example, I can modify my delivery speed to bring in an innovation. Similarly, I can modify temperature, speed, visibility, chemical properties, shape, structure, symmetry. In total, there are 84 parameters that can be changed in space and time to bring in an innovation. Going back to the way Da Vinci created the sfumato, we map each step to one of the 84 parameters. For example, preparing a semi-transparent glaze, what Da Vinci did here was he changed the concentration level of the pigments in the colors that he used to eliminate sharp transitions. And we have a standard principle or a parameter for that, that is change concentration level. Similarly, he divided the paintings into multiple sections, especially the eyes of Mona Lisa. And we have a standard parameter for that, that is segment the object into multiple sections. And lastly, continuously apply layers and layers of the glaze to eliminate any sharp transitions. And we have a standard parameter for that as well among those 84 parameters, which is change the amount of action. Finally, depending on the parameters that were used in an innovation, we get an 84-digit code that can be fed as a training dataset into an AI. Guess what? We just digitized Da Vinci's creativity. Let us take an example of how we can use the digitized creativity of Da Vinci to solve a business transformation problem. Here is the problem. We have 3 customer forms, one for booking, one for cancellation, and the last one for compliance. Using 3 forms can be confusing for the customer, and it can be even more hard and confusing for the agents who are processing these forms. What we need is one form that can perform the function of these 3 forms. So, what metric are we trying to change here? You're right, it's adaptability. The same metric which Da Vinci chose for Mona Lisa's eyes. What we have on the screen now is an idea generation AI called Athena developed by me. And in simple terms, what this particular AI does is, it lets you create a process map, and you can choose a particular process which is a blocker or something that we need to improve on. And it lets you choose the parameter that you want to improve. As you can see here, there are lots of parameters like accuracy, agility, etc. And once you innovate, it will generate thousands of ideas from the database, and these include solutions from numerous industries and best practices. Now, going back to the example that we were talking about, what I have done is I have trained Athena on the 84-digit code to think like Leonardo da Vinci, and I've also created a process map here. Let's go through the process steps. First, the customer has a need and he wants to book. Then he's been given a booking form. Unfortunately, he is unhappy with the deal and he wants to cancel it. He then receives a cancellation form. And then the specialist provides a feedback form to request a feedback from the customer, and a feedback form is provided. Now, the goal of our example is to kind of consolidate these 3 forms into one form that can perform the function of these 3 forms. let's take this, for example, cancellation form as an example. And what I'm going to do is, as we know, adaptability is the parameter that we want to improve. So I have chosen adaptability. And as you can see here, Athena uses three levers: people, process, and technology, and multiple sub levers inside, like employee. Within employee, you have motivation, skill, etc. And within these, there are thousands of ideas that are generated, which can be selected for improvement. But what I want to do now is I want to ask Athena to think like Leonardo da Vinci. So I will go here and ask Athena to think like Leonardo da Vinci. Now, what Athena would do is, based on the thousands of ideas that were generated inside, it will go ahead and select only those that are relevant and aligned with the principles used, or the creative principles used by Leonardo da Vinci. Let's go and have a look at it. So as we saw, we have thousands of ideas within people, process, and technology. As the goal here is not to train an employee to use these three forms and reduce the defects, but is to change the form in itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to technology, digital transformation, and within that I have UI UX. And as you can see here, there are 1, 2, 3 ideas under the exact principles used by Leonardo da Vinci. One is for transform properties. I'm going to add this to the cart. And then there is one idea against the principle of segmentation. So I'm going to add this to the cart as well. And then there is another solution for partial and excessive action. So I'm going to add this to the cart. And let's look at these ideas in detail now. Now let's look at the ideas generated by Athena. The first one is it's asking me to divide the entire UI UX into segments. There are 3 segments in total. One is the customer's name. The second one is the context, that is, if the form is related to booking or cancellation or feedback. And the last one is the additional details. The next idea is it's asking me to remove all the elements of my existing form and then start including it one by one depending on the redesign needs, or going back to the first one. And the last one, the key one here, is it's asking me to transform all my static elements of the UI to dynamic ones. For example, the static elements in the previous form design was the context, that is, a booking form, the booking part was static. And is there a way we can make it dynamic? So based on these 3 ideas, this is how the new form design would look like. As you can see, I have segmented the entire form into 3 sections. One is it has the name. The second part has the context, booking, cancellation, and complaint, and it is no more static. It is dynamic, which means the customer can dynamically opt to choose one of these or more than one, and it has the third context as well. So this is how we can leverage Da Vinci's creativity and the metric that he used, that is adaptability, to in a context of business or digital transformation. We took the example of eyes of Mona Lisa in digitizing the creativity of Da Vinci. In the next lecture, we will digitize all the other aspects, like her smile, why her posture is so relaxed, why is the background so blurry, why the horizon does not align, and more. Till then, thank you and have a good day.